Okay, I'm going live now. Okay, I think we're good. Hello, everybody. Hello, stream. Welcome to another episode of TapCaf Transmissions. I think we're live.
Yep, looks like it.
Okay. Everyone, welcome to another episode of TapCaf Transmissions. My name is Justin, joined as always by my good friend Corey. And we've got a very special episode planned today because not only are we 5 minutes late starting the recording, but we don't have anything planned. So we were thinking we would just kind of do a news update video, a bit of Q&A, and just kind of chat for a while.
To be fair, we did decide that a few days ago, so it's not like we just decided 5 minutes beforehand that we didn't have time to read a comic or something. Because we did make this decision when we still had time to read a Young Jedi Knight or...
I mean, yeah, as long as we make it like before 5 minutes before the episode, we've got time.
That's true.
We
could really just pull out either of those things right now and read them on the podcast. It would work out just fine.
Mm-hmm. So before we get into that, though, it's April Fool's. Did you get made a fool by anything? Anything really good get you?
No, I've just ignored any news today, other than stuff that I've posted myself, which has all been correct. And I did see that you fired our good friend, our former friend Charlie. So that.
Well, I fired him from the friend role long before I fired him from the job role.
Yeah, but, it is kind of weird when you have these kind of like YouTube relationships and friendships that you kind of have to, like, from the business side, keep up, even if the fire and passion is long since drained from that. So
loveless marriage, basically.
Yeah.
Did you see Alex's Star Wars Explained? His was really good. Hey, well, you said you weren't. Yeah.
It's not a joke. Like. The man just wants to be in the movie.
No, he does. And he was saying, he's been telling me for a long time he wants to do more like skit stuff. So I think this was his opportunity and he's just taking it.
Well, he's really into improv, right? So
it's like how Charlie, to go back to our friend Charlie, like he jumped at that opportunity to wear that Princess Peach outfit.
Yeah.
Like a little too excited for it just to be something he's being forced to do. It kind of like that. Like, I was like, I guess I'll make a skit this year.
Well, did you watch Templin Institute's April Fool's video yet? Yeah, so Mark initially asked me and Charlie to do something for it, as you're aware. We tried. I tried. Charlie immediately, as soon as we tried to do, like, it's supposed to be like a scripted thing, or like a made up joke in the moment that is an obvious joke, and as soon as we started recording, Charlie would just laugh and say he couldn't do it. He couldn't handle the cringe, which it's Charlie. Of course he can handle the cringe. He is just cringe. But he then tries to send Mark a video that we'd posted on X2 a year ago. So I had to record some stuff for Mark on my own, knowing that Charlie would be unable to do this. And Mark still didn't even use it. So they're both dead.
Kings and Generals is in the chat, and his was my favorite. His was like the great.
His yet.
Oh no, in Mark's video.
Okay.
His was like the Great Pepsi War, and it was like I forget what he named the guy. The Duke of Gatorade or whatever. It was really funny. Like the Great Cola Wars. That was good. I will say I got bamboozled yesterday because I wasn't expecting it by a Halo Infinite delay thing. It was basically just like the exact same as the last Halo Infinite delay tweet, but it was like till spring of 2022. And I was like, okay, that's really believable, but
yeah, you can't, if you're like actually announcing something or actually making something, you can't do something that is just completely in line with literally everything you've ever done.
Yes. There's two ways to do a bad April Fool's. That's one of them. The other is to do something that people unironically want. Like, I remember I used to be on the SimCity modding boards.
Right.
Because I used to love that game. And one April Fool's, their joke was, all the artists have come together and agreed to allow all their stuff to be downloaded together. And it's going to make modding way easier. And that didn't happen. So it's like, now everyone just kind of looks bad. And it's like, drawing light at the fact that how like annoying this service is.
Yeah, like we announced things that for Throne's Revenge, we announced things that people would want, but we actually do the thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So this is your third Throne's Revenge one, right?
Yeah, because like we did two Revan's Revenge ones, and like
was it FOTR didn't that start off as one? Or
yeah,
no?
2017 was the first time we did kind of the April Fool's mod announcements, and that was followed.
Oh, and you did the Vong one as well.
Yeah, April Fool's, that was 2019, and that was when that was going to be like its own mod rather than rolled into Throne's Revenge, but it ended up. It's not a lie; it's just a reorganization there. So it's it all worked out.
Yeah. Trying to think if I saw any other good ones. I don't know. I enjoy that. Some people really hate it, but yeah, I'm into it.
As long as it's clear when things are jokes, that's fine. There's always going to be someone who believes like even the most clearly stated joke is real, but as long as there's some way to distinguish between that and what's actually happening, then I'm okay with it.
Yeah. It is just, I guess, mostly when people get their hopes up, and then that's the only thing.
Yeah.
Anything else though? Let's talk about Bad Batch, because that was the other big thing, I guess, since last week. There's a trailer for Bad Batch. We knew it was about time because it's coming out just over a month from today, May 4th. So yeah, thoughts on the trailer, real quick.
I thought it was a cool trailer, but like my thoughts overall on the show are still kind of where they've been since it was announced. Where like it looks good for what it is, but I'm still not sure how I'm gonna feel about it, because it is like Star Wars A-Team basically, and that's not my favorite genre. So
it could be good though.
Yeah,
like I think that's kind of a benefit, like, because the characters are so cut and dry, it gives them, or so like stereotypical, it gives them a lot of room to grow.
Yeah, like I don't think I'll dislike it, but it's not in that whole slate of things to look forward to. It's not really what I'm looking forward to, and I'm glad that we are in a position where we're getting enough that isn't a problem. Like if you don't like that, there's going to be 37 other shows that are coming right afterwards. And we'll maybe re-inject some interest in Star Wars videos so that we can stay employed.
Yeah, because I talked about that this week too, about how like Star Wars feels a little dead right now. Saying it's not dead. It feels a little dead because the interest is just waning, and like we're not experts in fandom, but fandom kind of like affects our YouTube channels, because like we see directly, like, okay, because our channels rise and fall with like the general interest. That's just how YouTube works. Like I explained it, some people don't realize this, but like when Star Wars is popular, like in December when like the Mandalorian's on, our channels generally just do better, not just Mandalorian videos but any video. So when things are less so, then it's clear to us.
Yeah, like there are certain things for me that'll just do well regardless, that kind of creates its own interest, but in general, Star Wars stuff is really reliant on what's kind of out there at the time.
Yeah, but it will be better. And then what else do we actually have this year coming out? Is Visions this year?
Ronin, I think, is this year. Well, there's
Mandalorian coming out next year, I think. It's Boba Fett this year, but Mandalorian next year, I think. Yeah,
same thing. But
yeah,
there's basically the first episode of Bad Batch is 70 minutes, so it's basically a Star Wars movie.
Yeah, it's kind of like what they with the Clone Wars, which has me excited.
Yeah, so I guess for that one we'll just do a full podcast on the premiere, at least. We were talking before about whether we wanted to do like do an episode that's like 30 minutes on each one, and then alternate that with or throw in an extra episode once a month or something for books while it's on. And I think that's probably what we're going to end up doing, but we got a lot to cover in that first one probably. So
Yeah, speaking of, they did also just announce. I saw this on Twitter before I came on. It's not on Star Wars Leak, but Del Rey did announce book 3 of the new Thrawn trilogy. Del Rey, Star Wars Twitter, just 1 second. Thrawn Ascendancy trilogy continues later this month with Greater Good. The finale of the trilogy is coming sooner than you think. Book 3, Lesser Evil by Timothy Zahn, November 16th, 2021.
That's good.
So, yeah, very soon. That's like a classic Legends release schedule where like they knock a trilogy out in a year and a half.
We'll try our best to cover those when they actually come out, and not take the month off afterwards. But
listen, buddy, I had space sickness.
How'd you get that?
Don't want to talk about it. Just trying to think if there's anything else.
Space elevator, boys. Way the space elevator.
Yeah, seriously. Oh, did you like my Randy inclusion in today's video?
Warlord Zinj?
Originally, the Warlord Zinj thing was just like going to be a joke. Like I was just going to list off 3 people and then Warlord Zinj. But then I was like, I looked over and I saw the Trailer Park Boys poster I got in my office. Well, it's on my floor now, waiting to be hung. It's a what's it called? It was a poster, but I took it to the premiere of the first Trailer Park Boys movie, and they all signed it. So now it's mounted. But I think it must be in the hallway now because it's not near. But I was like, oh, Randy kind of is also Zinj-like. So
yeah, I told you in DMs, but I do think you neglected the Horngus in that video a little bit. It's a hard topic to penetrate, but you just gotta get like right in there.
Initially, I wanted to get Wasted to do it just because he's got like such a beautiful like instructor's voice, like, and he's so proper sounding. If he tries to be, like, it would have been hilarious to hear him saying Horngus and Skungle and stuff. But
you can see that if you just go to the Star Wars Squadron subreddit.
That's true.
Do you think we're gonna get any more Star Wars games announced this year while we're on the? We're not going to get a Star Wars game this year, but we could get some announcements.
There's been the rumor that either DICE or somebody else is working on a double A like Squadron size game. I've heard that from a few reliable people, and then also Charlie's said it, which kind of makes me question it. But I'd say we might get that announced, and I think we'll get the full. Like, this probably doesn't count because it's already been announced, but we'll get more stuff for Jedi Fallen Order too.
Yeah. I really thought that would actually be announced by now. But
yeah, me too.
It's basically
it's been officially announced, I think, but I don't think like it has a name or a date yet. But yeah, it's been announced.
It's been announced mostly through like job postings, right?
I thought EA formally announced it.
Well, I guess considering how the original Fallen Order was actually announced, it shouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, it was announced as the first episode in a series. Oh my god, Wikipedia is really bright. It was announced as the first episode in a series, first game in a series. So,
well, I mean, even just the initial announcement of Fallen Order, where it was like an offhand mention about it's like that weird audience interaction thing. So
yeah, I was with Jay, like who's EA's community manager. When they were doing it, I was like, oh my god, like, what are you guys doing? Like, it was so bad. Like, and it's funny because it was such a good game, but like, you could tell they were putting some stuff together last minute. Like, I don't know if they didn't have the name approved or like, because that was weird because it was at EA Play as well, which was like EA set that up during E3, and there's like nobody there. That's the other thing. Like, there's like 100 people in the crowd, like, because it was
sounds like a ton right now, but at the time that was nothing.
Yeah, because it's just like the influencers in there, because it's like in their little tent that you can't go in. So it was really, really weird.
Yeah. But look how it came out. I still like. It's only been a year, and I want to replay it already.
Has it really only been a year? Oh my god.
Has it been? Maybe it's been 2. No, it's been 2 because I don't think I was in lockdown when that happened.
I remember it was one of the first things. Yeah, definitely. It's been like 2 years.
Time is just.
I was gonna say, I know time is messed up, but not that messed up. Yeah, November 15th, 2019. So a year and a half. it was one of the first things that Charlie did for me was edit some of those videos. And they did awful. They did just terribly.
Well, we can't all be bombastic.
Mm. So chat, we're kind of running to the end of the things we want to talk about. So we're going to enter the question and answer portion of the class. So if you guys have any questions that you'd like us to talk about, we've got about an hour and a half, whatever, depending on how interesting it is. So yeah, I'm just other news that I wanted to discuss. Before we moved on.
Well, there is for the Twin Suns tournament. There was the behind the scenes video released for the teaser that went out.
Yeah,
Born Stellar put out.
So Born Stellar, his name is Wyatt. He's the guy who worked on the Twin Suns teaser, which was really cool. It was that video I put up. And he put out a behind the scenes thing. It was a really interesting look, I thought, into. I'm just opening it now. Got nearly 1,000 views now. It was a really interesting look into kind of his process and how we worked together and what he did and stuff. So that was really cool. The other thing I'll say too is we're working on getting some of those mini doges printed up.
Yeah.
So
I'll have one over there.
Mm-hmm.
But I did see some questions in chat about this. My girlfriend did crochet me an Among Us little plushie there. So for those listening on audio, that's going to be not as interesting to look at because it's you can't transmit video through audio. But
where we're going, you don't need eyes. I can't see because it's only 360. Did you make that link behind you as well?
No, that link is official merch that I'm babysitting for my friend who moved to teach in Vietnam.
My office is so messy. I was like, Corey, you've got to crop me in. So I'm basically in like a very, very small room. Like you can see how close the walls behind me. I've got nothing in here besides my computer and my desk, and I can show you guys on stream. I've got my Legends book collection over there.
All that work I did to crop you out before we started, now you're just fucking giving the tour.
Yeah. Well, I was like, I want to talk about it, but you can see my giant. I might use this for video cart tonight. I got my giant Jabba the Hutt mug, which is pretty cool. And yeah.
I have a Yoda Best Uncle mug, so
I've got a Yoda Best Daddy as well, actually. Mm-hmm. So I will say my son is watching, he's like really he's getting into Star Wars. And I will say, like, you'd think if you hear me saying that, and like my parents, my sister assume that it's like something with me, like pushing it on him or forcing it, but it actually wasn't. He saw
forcing. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. He saw Chewbacca and Vader were really the two ones that he like really attached to. And then, because I will say, he did have a Baby Yoda. Like, we got him Star Wars stuff. Like, he's got a little picture of Chewbacca up on his wall. And he's got like a Baby Yoda plushie, and he says Baby Yoda all the time. But recently, he's been like asking to watch Darth Vader. He's like, "Can I watch Darth Vader?" Which means he wants to like put the movies on or whatever. So that's kind of cool. And he's like starting to learn like the characters now. Like he, what's he been saying? Like, he's been saying like Luke's got a green lightsaber, and I'm like, yep. And he knows like random characters too, like General Grievous, and like, yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah, mine just blanked. I had a whole sentence in my head.
He do be learning though. He do be learning. One thing that do you want to talk about the mod that you're working on? Because it is the kind of
sure the new one.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so
for those who don't know, Corey works on mods for the game Star Wars Empire at War, and he's got like a bunch.
Yeah, so we started out with 15 years ago when it started, we had 4 that were in the series where it was like one that's Galactic Civil War, one that's Clone Wars, one that's Post Endor, and at that point it was one that's set in the Vong War. And we ended up canceling a lot of them and just did the Post Endor one, Thrawn's Revenge, But over the last few years, we've started to resurrect some of the other projects and add an Old Republic one. Today, we did the official announcement for the Galactic Civil War one coming back. So that is something that is going to be taking up more of my life over the next little while. So did a teaser for that over on my channel if people want to check that out. But there's going to be some spaceships in it. We were in talks with the MC-75 and the Starhawk. We were able to come to some terms that we all agreed upon. Still some stuff to get in, like in final writing and sign, but everyone seems to be on board with the project, and yeah, lots to look forward to there.
So how's like progress going on that? Like people in chat are asking like how far along are you or whatever.
It's not super far along, but because on the asset side, so all the 3D models and textures and stuff, there's very little that we need to make for it, for at least like a functional core of the mod, because we've already got like every post-Endor ship in existence and some that aren't in existence. So there's a couple things like the Death Stars and Vader that you need, but those are also in the base game. So we have at the very least good placeholders for that. So this is more the coding side that needs to be done. We need to make a few more planets, do a lot of the faction government mechanics, do a lot of scenario design. It's that kind of thing, and it'll play fairly differently. So there's some design on that side as well. But especially with like the tools we've made over the years and the workflow that we've got, the coding side shouldn't take that much time. It's just more going to be on the design side. So we have a project like Imperial Reign, which is the name of the Galactic Civil War mod, that's more on the code and design side. Then there's Revan's Revenge, which takes more on the asset side. So there were some concerns about like, oh, you're announcing this, but the other one isn't out. It's kind of two different parts of the team that'll be working on each thing simultaneously. There are obviously some overlapping things, but it's a really large team relatively for a modding project. So we wouldn't do it if we weren't confident in our ability to get everything done. But
yeah, so that's interesting. I didn't know that about the two projects. I just assumed you were getting way over your head, but that's good to know.
I'm not saying we aren't, just that we can get our head back above that water.
Yeah, I mean, again, if people don't like the mods, like the refunds will start coming in, and then big trouble.
There's just, it's so hard to issue one because like then you got to track down all the credit card numbers and try to figure out like how many times can you give back $0 a day.
True. We do have one question that I saw asked a couple times about Crosshair, who is the. By the way, guys, you can ask questions about anything, probably about Star Wars books, but about Crosshair, who's the he's the sniper, obviously based on the name, and people are saying that because if you watch the trailer, he's with the Bad Batch when they're on Camino, but then he kind of leaves. So do you have any kind of guesses about what he's going to be up to?
He's going to snipe some people. That seems to be safest.
Do you think he's going to die, or is he going to defect, or what's going to happen?
Like defect from them when they're defecting, or
sorry, not defect, I guess, rather.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel it would feel kind of weird to like insert a less familiar character to just have them leave. Like I feel like
he's already one of the boys, though.
Yeah, I don't think, because that would be one of the first things that happens in the show, right? Order 66.
Yeah, so
it's covering like
talk
right
about
up to
kind
Order
of
66 in season 1, right?
Yeah, I mean, let's just go into kind of the show now. I think we might as well spend some time talking about it because, like we said, there's not much else going on in Star Wars right now. Let's talk about like what you think, what you're expecting from the first season and from the first 70-minute episode. Like, I figure the first episode is going to be all of that. I think it's going to be Order 66. My guess is going to be that maybe they do commit Order 66. I don't think that's honestly going to be the kind of pressure point. I think what's going to happen is that because we see them on some world and it looks like they're, being pretty rough with the locals. I think that maybe the clone commandos with a bit more, I don't know if they have a bit more creativity and intellectual freedom, but there's certainly like they're more rebellious. I think they might just decide they don't want to do it. And then my guess is that all within the first episode, they're going to leave Kamino with this new, she looks like a female clone, maybe.
Yeah, there was most of the speculation I saw was like, is this a Palpatine clone? Did you see any of that?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, that's I've seen a few people tweet that out. I don't know if I buy it, but there was some chin comparisons and there's something there. But
Okay.
like I feel like having one of them defect from the defection when it seems like it's going to be so early on in the show would be, I don't know, because they have had the few episodes to set them up from season 7, but I feel like
I
it'd
think
be
maybe
too
not
early.
defect from the defection, but just I think one of them is just not gonna go, and he's gonna go even more kind of fully Empire. You know what I mean?
Maybe. I don't know. It just seems like it'd be happening so early that it's hard to.
Kind of like it doesn't set up the emotional tie between them.
Yeah. Because I don't feel like I got that really from the episodes we've had of them in Clone Wars so far. So it just.
I mean, that is also kind of the benefit of a 70-minute episode, if that is the way they decide to go.
Like, it would make sense for them to have like some sort of emotional connection to part of the Empire and have that be embodied by one of them staying in there. But like, you can't break up the skill set, right? Are they going to trade Crosshair for the little girl, and then is she going to be a
taller
sniper?
than she is?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. So okay, so how do you see the first episode go? Thank you very much, Space, for the donation as well. I did see that. How do you see the first episode going? And how do you think like Ahsoka, if Ahsoka's going to tie into it, is she going to tie in? Is Rex going to tie in? What's your expectations there?
I hope at least for the
we know
first
Rex
season, we focus a bit less on characters like Rex and Ahsoka. Because like we need some time to build up those characters, and I think that's something that Mandalorian did well. Where going into season 2, I was kind of afraid of the cameos, but for the most part, they were not overwhelming and did give the characters that we were introduced to on the show room to breathe, even if they were like kind of backdoor piloting Ahsoka in season 2. But I don't know. I'm not sure what's going to take like the first episode, what's going to take the first season, how long it's going to go with that, how much direct conflict we're going to get in with the Empire over what period of the first season. So there's a lot of question marks there for me. I've been kind of trying not to overly engage with it beyond what I need to do.
I think that's smart
for the podcast or for videos. I haven't made. I don't think I might have done like an initial trailer reaction, but I haven't done anything since about Bad Batch, because like it is something where I don't have the highest expectation or like the highest interest, and I don't want to kind of ruin that by or decrease what I do have by kind of picking apart everything to death. Someone's got to tell Charlie to move the scheduled stream back by an hour.
I'll do it.
I just got the notification that we're going live in half an hour, which is not the case. But
Charlie, I'll tag him. Charlie. Why isn't... Just 1 second, guys. You're going to be a part for this. Charlie, I'm going to use his own language against him. You nonce. You have the stream set for the wrong time. He's probably asleep. I'm going to have to do it.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, how about you? What do you think? Where are we going to be at the end of this season?
It's hard to say because I don't know what length. Sorry, he said 9 p.m. Eastern time. We said, Charlie, Google current EST. I don't know where we're going to be at the end of the season. I do think this is going to be a longer term show. Like, so I wouldn't be surprised if they spend a season kind of like peddling water. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
just focusing on escaping and surviving from the Empire at this point, which I'm cool with. And then I assume there will be some bigger, like we do see that they're looking to maybe not join the rebellion, but they're doing something.
Well, they're a good 20 years off for the rebellion. Unless they just get killed in the Secession World uprisings, that'll be where we finish the show.
Yeah, but I mean they meet Saw Gerrera, so maybe not like the full scale rebellion, but
they definitely get involved in like that. That was at least confirmed by the trailer, because I don't see that scene where they're with him going with, oh, you can join the new or get killed with the old or whatever he says. I don't see that scene ending with like, okay, we'll just go die and then and roll credits.
Yeah. I don't know. That's partially why I'm excited, because it is a bit more open than like the Clone Wars was, for example, where like they're going to be fighting the Clone Wars most of the time.
Yeah.
Hold on.
But we'll have plenty of a Bad Batch coverage coming up as we get into the season. So, yes, now we'll move to some of the questions from chat. There was one from Zingbop here asking, do y'all think that Siruvi had potential for more stories, books, comics, or were they more a villain of the week type thing? So, do you have any thoughts on that?
I forget which New Jedi Order book it is that
Force
deals
Heretic.
with it. Like, I feel like that amount of content is kind of pushing them to their limit. Like, I think with Star Wars, it's hard to make. It's hard to make, or just any franchise really. It's hard for like just pure evil villains to be interesting, and like the Siruvi are evil dinosaurs.
Yeah, like they do get fleshed out a little bit more in the background, and that's kind of the thing where like there's any number of kind of villains of the week like that, like Siruvi, Avitha, where any of them could have had a bit more room for more stories about them, but at the same time, to get that, you would have been giving up something else. So I do kind of like the idea that there are these groups that we kind of get the start and end of them, and we get like the source book and essential guide references to kind of what goes on in the middle without having to get the nitty gritty of Wedge sending out some pilots to fight with this Ibuara on the way to Luek.
Yeah, like I do think there is more room generally for like, or there would have been more room. Like, I'm not saying I'm willing to replace something, but it would have been nice to get more stories set during like the Vong War outside of the books themselves. Like, it's kind of weird how little tie-in material there was. Like, there's like the Invasion comics, there's a few short stories, but like not a whole lot else.
Yeah, but it was already 19 books to start with, so. And
yeah, but it's still kind of 19 books like about the main characters, you know.
Everyone kind of got their moment in the sun. It was basically the Avengers of the Star Wars expanded universe continuity.
I think there's a short story about Kyle Katarn, or there's something in like the new Essential, or there's something in maybe the Essential Guide to Warfare about like what Kyle was off doing.
Kyle just gets ignored by literally everything until Legacy of the Force. If you were just reading books, you wouldn't know he was around at all.
And then he gets shivved in the stomach.
Yeah, he survives though. So
yeah, I remember last time I was reading it, I was like, "What the fuck? Does Kyle Katarn die?" Because how do I not remember this? Because he comes close to dying, and it's Jason. So I was like, "Oh, he's fucked."
Yeah. Well, Jason already killed like Tracina Lobby dies. Mara dies. The next series, Saba fucking chucks Kenth into a hole.
You mean she murders him?
Forget who that was.
Yeah, somebody on your Discord.
Yeah, but yeah, there was too much turnover in the Jedi Council. They couldn't get rid of Kyle at that point. Like Jason was on the master track. He could have made council.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Well, he didn't want there to be a council anyways. So
he was the most famous Jedi after the Vong War, they say. Yeah. Maybe besides Luke, but he's like the golden child. So
he starts literally glowing in the fight with
Yeah.
Onimi.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, you come back from the fight with like Shimra and Onimi, and no one else was in the throne room. No one else knows, like, oh, it's actually not Supreme Overlord Shimra who was the big bad. It
Mm.
was Onimi, this court
Clown.
jester. So,
Yeah.
like, cool, yeah, there's just not much glory there. So I think Luke still would have
Oh
got.
yeah, I would have lied. I would have been like, yeah, I killed Shimra and also he had a clone, and I killed them both at the same time. When like Luke and isn't it Luke and Jaina who are out there like killing like 100 of the Yuuzhan Vongs? Like, what are their super warriors called again?
The Slayers.
The Slayers, yeah.
Yeah, I think Jaina's doing like massacre on Yuzon Vong soldiers while Luke duels Shimra and Jason kills Onimi. Like, Jaina's better than both of them.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, here's a question. Can you two collab with other Star Wars YouTubers on a multi-video project about different parts of Star Wars Legends lore? Not talked about much on YouTube. This can spice up some interest. I mean, I think the problem is people just aren't really that interested in the, like the parts of Star Wars lore that kind of video series would cover. I mean, like Corey and I do stuff like that.
Yeah, generally, like the way people find that kind of stuff, like no one's searching Siruvi. Like there are people who would like search Siruvi, but as far as a sustainable or an increase in interest, then usually there's some other property people are looking into. Then they go down the typical like YouTube rabbit hole of recommendations and everything. So for those kinds of videos to succeed, you usually need relative interest to be high, and like that's essentially what my entire channel is, because I almost never do any videos on topics that are actually of interest to people. So it is a bit harder going that direction.
There's always like a bit of
a way to frame it.
You've got to like couch the good like lore in like a very consumer friendly way. Like the guy with the biggest balls in Star Wars Legends, and it's a video about Garm Beliblis or whatever.
Yeah. Like, as far as collabs with other creators, that is something like we'd like to get more guests on the show. Our last episode was supposed to have a guest, but because of all the scheduling issues, that did fall apart.
Yeah, Alex had to be on Ellen, didn't he?
Yeah, and before that, there was the D&D game without us. That because it was supposed to be him and Templin on Light of the Jedi. But you think people just don't like us?
Oh yeah, most definitely.
Like other than the people that people know don't like us, I mean.
No, yeah, still yes, still as confident, yes.
Do you think it's because we hang out with Charlie?
No, I think we're unlikable for our own reasons. I think that's probably just another reason.
Wait, yeah, a lot of those people like Charlie. It is us.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Or don't know Charlie.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of the people who like Charlie, maybe they don't know Charlie well enough.
I'm telling him that at Bureau, he's gonna cry when he hears that.
We do have a couple email questions maybe we should jump to before we forget them.
Sure.
The first one here is from Hunter, who is wondering if we plan to cover the Hand of Thrawn books, and also wants some advice. They've read the Canon and Legends Thrawn trilogy, the Hand of Thrawn books, Outbound Flight, Ascendancy, and Star Wars Allegiance, with choices of one on the way. I was curious if we had any suggestions on what they should read next. I'm trying to read everything from after the Battle of Endor.
Can you say those again? I was thinking you asked something
basically, basically, they read all of Timothy Zahn's books,
like the Thrawn stuff. Timothy Zahn's
all the
like
Thrawn stuff, Allegiance, choice of one, so all the stuff that's from the Xanaverse, and also if we're going to cover Hand of Thrawn. So basically, we do want to cover everything. Anything by Timothy Zahn's pretty good bet that we'll get to sooner than later, probably.
Yeah, we're definitely going to do Thrawn Duology is one of my favorites. I mean, we'll definitely, again, we've said this before. If the question is, are you going to cover something? Like, eventually, probably. Yeah, it's a matter of when. But we're not writing anything off like wholesale at this point. Regarding like what to read after Zahn, or after those Thrawn books, this is another one we've got. We always recommend X-Wing, like you said.
Yeah.
And really, I think the best approach, I mean, you should probably read either the Jedi Academy trilogy or I, Jedi. The best approach after that is take a look at the book series and like see which ones are interesting. Like if you read the back of the New Rebellion and say that doesn't sound very good, like I'm not going to blame you if you don't crack her open and read her through.
Hunter does mention that, I don't want to dox him, but that he is a younger reader. So Young Jedi Knights
okay.
is, I think that'd be a great next step there.
Yes. Yes, agreed.
Like,
that actually is, we've been talking about it. It's got some good lore tie-ins and stuff, like, because it's Kevin J. Anderson for a lot of them, so.
Yeah. Like when I was just getting into Star Wars reading, that was kind of where I went, where it was like I had my accidental reading of I think Destiny's Way or Star by Star. Then I had Thrawn trilogy and the Young Jedi Knight stuff. So I think it's a transition that
for the age she's at. I think I remember reading this email when it was coming in. For the age she's at, like, you're not far away from being able to read some of the other stuff, and you could if you want to, but like it's probably Young Jedi Knights would be good. Yeah, but I mean, good on you for getting so much done at your age.
Another hunter has also emailed asking just a quick question: how many Crimson Empire nanny droids do you think Corin owns? Or they don't have enough for. So we've gone from
well, he only owns one at a time, but he goes through them.
Previous hunter, maybe cover your ears for a bit. But look, the thing about the fur though is you can buy it anywhere. So
God. Yeah, but he's rough on those things. But yeah, he only owns one at a time, but he's owned many. But in any given time, it's just one.
Look, there's options there. Like we don't. It's Corin's life. We don't need to. We don't need to judge. We don't need to look up his receipts for the fur when he replaces it. But it's a lot. Okay, I'm gonna put the over under at 7.5. Where are you going with that?
Over, for sure, over.
Okay.
I think 7.5 during the Vong War itself. Or alone.
Our next email question, before we get back to the chat questions, comes from Cedric, who says, "Hello, Ek and Corey. Who is your favorite Imperial warlord? Also, if you were a warlord, what title would you give yourself? High Admiral, Supreme Commander, Honored Overlord, etc."
I do just like how the Supreme Warlord or the warlords just get more and more ridiculous. Like, so like I think I'd want to be like Supreme Grand Admiral or something, or like Grand Admiral of the armies and navies, or like just something to just up myself over all the other like Grand Admirals that still kind of sounds like it could be in the military hierarchy. Well, what's yours?
Well, I'm just kind of sad that you didn't work effervescent in there, but
we're not perfect here.
Okay.
Regarding favorite warlord, yours is Kane, isn't it?
No.
No? Okay. Who's yours?
Who talks Printioc?
Little fairy. He looks like a fairy in Thrawn's Revenge.
Well,
I think it's the color. He's got like.
And the one picture, we do need Dark Legion to make a full digital painting of it, like he did with the other warlords. But
I don't know if you need that.
You think he should just stay as the shitty art quality?
Yes.
Okay, fair enough. We'll just write
that
it's
like
staying in there.
AOTR does, and just like have him be like Pierce Brosnan or something.
We did. So for a couple of weeks, we were like working on getting photoshopped images of celebrities and to portray the characters. Because like a bunch of mods do that. AOTR does it. Phoenix Rising does it a bit. But I've always found it kind of weird, and it makes me kind of uncomfortable. So we started actually, aside from just the full digital paintings, we also used like AI generated faces and then Photoshop those a bit. And then it's not like, oh, this is who is it? John C. Reilly playing one of the Grand Admirals.
Wasn't he what's his name? The Death Star designer, Levelisk?
Yeah, I think he gets used for Lemelisk. Then you have like, what is it? Pierce Brosnan that gets used for
yeah. And they have what's his name, the British guy from fucking Love Actually. But yeah.
And this isn't just like an AOTR thing. This is something that a lot
No,
of mods do.
and I'm not saying it's a bad thing either. It is.
But it
I do
does
laugh when it's like, oh god, we got Pierce Brosnan commanding, trio of super star destroyers. He is my favorite James Bond, but
I don't think I have a favorite James Bond. I don't think I have a James Bond. But
don't tell that to Charlie. Like that's enough to be kicked out of your country.
man, I've never seen Back to the Future. What do you want from me? I've listened to like a 4-hour podcast, multiple 4-hour podcasts on Back to the Future movies. Never seen them.
But they're really good. The first one, at least, is a classic.
I don't know. It's never come up. I listen to podcasts alone. I don't watch movies alone. So if I don't have people to watch the movie with, then
we can do it for our podcast.
Ooh, we're replacing the WandaVision podcast with the Back to the Future podcast.
Yes.
All right, book them.
Yep. Welcome.
There was. Ooh, I did say we'd go back to any chat questions that pop up while we're doing this.
Mm-hmm.
Amy asked, "What's the difference between general and admiral in Star Wars, since both lead space fleets?" So usually,
do you know the answer to this? I don't.
Usually, the distinction that gets made when they bother trying to make it a distinction is that general, when it's used for Space Command, gets applied to someone who's primarily involved with Starfighter Command. So
like General
Psalm, Garm Beliblis gets sort of put into that, but his is more like a holdover from just on making his comments. Hera kind of comes in that way, like Phoenix Leader. So yeah, usually it's a meaningless distinction, but when they do try to make it mean something, it's generally someone who's commanding primarily starships versus primarily starfighters, even though it ends up being the exact same thing.
I'd never heard of that.
Yeah, because it is usually so meaningless as to render my explanation there moot, but that does at least get used a couple times.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. Ben asks, working on reading the Legends library, but Children of the Jedi has thrown the brakes on me. For me, can you talk about the drawbacks of skipping the Snooze Fest books?
There's none.
I mean, what are the only drawbacks is there are like some small details that get carried through. Like there will be characters who are mentioned occasionally, but like read the Wikipedia article and you're doing fine.
I read Fate of the Jedi, having not read Children of the Jedi or the rest of the Calista trilogy, and did not feel like I was missing out on anything. Like, if there's a Star Wars book you want to skip...
Really? Because Callista's in Fate of the Jedi.
Yeah. If you're really feeling...
That's a good thing, though, because like whenever they bring something like that up, they'll usually, like, when Callista comes up in Fate of the Jedi, it's like after the books reintroduced her.
Yeah. It's not like you're fine.
Mm-hmm.
Like there can be some interesting stuff maybe if you want to like double or come back around to it, but it's like if there is something, this is supposed to be fun. If you think something's going to be a slog to get through, or you start it and you're not enjoying it, there's no shame in just putting it down and saying not for me.
Nope, you don't owe a book anything. That's like one thing. That's one piece of advice that like seems obvious, but when somebody told me, it kind of changed how I felt about things. Like, you don't owe a book a read through. Like, if you start reading a book and you don't jive with it, you don't need to finish it. It's like,
unless you're
it's
simple,
but it's true. Yeah. Well, like, and again, I made the suggestion before in the podcast. The audiobooks are a great compromise because they're literally 3.5 hours long.
You can put that on 2 times speed and make it even funnier.
Yeah, no, I mean, a lot of people do listen to audiobooks in like, well, not 2 times, but 1.15 or whatever. We have a question from Space is Big. Also, thank you for your donation. He says, "Have you read through Star Wars Allegiance?" I'm working for that now. That is one that I actually read recently for the first time in a long time, probably since it came out. Have you read that one, Corey? It's like about it's about Mara. Mara's in it, and
I always get it confused with Choices of One. I can never remember which is which. But I'm 99% sure I read it when it first came out. But
Mhm.
it's also a thing where like I've read so many of like the character entries on Wikipedia so much that I'm not positive that I actually read the book and don't just know everything from it through
Mhm.
osmosis and other things. But
One thing that
it's
I'll
been so
say that
long.
I'm reading the Wikipedia page right now is the book's a lot more about the stormtroopers than anything
Yeah.
else. Um, because so it's about like largely about stormtroopers and they have to defect from the Empire because one of them kills an ISB officer. And as that's happening, I like the time period it's set in because it sets like a few months after, or a year, probably a few months after episode 4. So it's kind of interesting. Um, yeah.
Yeah.
And you've got like Han's trying to leave the rebellion, but he keeps getting, pulled back in. Of course. So yeah.
Got your Larones, your Quillers, your.
Yeah, Laroon's the one that I remember most.
'Cause I don't think they explicitly joined the Empire of the Hand in that, but Timothy Zahn wrote about or did mention he wanted to make another book about them joining the Empire of the Hand. And I think that's what Choices of One is, a novella,
Yeah, they
short
call
story about
themselves
them
the
joining it.
Hand of Judgment.
Yeah,
Um, because they're like Imperials who think the Empire is actually good. Like, although early on in the book they're like having to kind of grapple with some of the shit the Empire does. I'm pretty sure really early on they like slaughter a village or something.
yeah.
Um, and so afterwards, when they leave the Empire, they're like, "Well, we're not part of the Empire anymore, but we still want to."
Still want to
We
be
still want,
authoritarians. Like, come on.
yeah, yeah. But yeah, I read that not long ago. That's one of the books that actually has a full audiobook for it because that's how I read it recently. So yeah.
We did get another email question from Rowan who asks, they're wondering if maybe you could upload some of your videos in podcast form. So, what do you think about that?
I don't know. I mean, I've seen like people try to do that. Like I know Star Wars Explained did that for a while, but I don't think he does anymore. I've seen other YouTubers try to do it. For me, it's just like it's kind of labor intensive. For like what is a pretty small benefit, I think.
Yeah.
Like
Especially
I'm a
with YouTube
YouTuber.
having pretty decent tools to just like listen in audio only.
Hmm.
Uh, though that I think that is just like if you want to have the screen off and listen to audio
Yeah.
only videos, you do need YouTube Premium. But
Hmm.
if there is one subscription service that I pretty much wholeheartedly recommend, it is YouTube Premium.
Yeah.
Because like no ads while still supporting creators, which is something that I care about for obvious reasons.
Hmm.
But like the actual functionality of the app that comes with it is super useful. Like there are a few podcasts I listen to that are primarily out in video form, or I'll like go between watching them in video form and listening to them in audio form, and being able to keep my place on YouTube while still shutting off
Hmm.
my phone is
Hmm.
handy, and it lets you download stuff to listen
Yeah,
to
that's another
offline.
big thing. Like if
So
you're taking the
it's
metro, you can download it, and you don't have
yeah.
to worry about internet connection.
And I'm technically being paid to say that if anyone ever watches one of my videos with it, because like half the money that you're paying for YouTube Premium does go to the channels that you watch.
Hmm.
So if you heavily watch one channel, they'll get most of that $5. And it is,
Is
even
that
though
how it
it's a
works?
much,
Okay, I didn't know that's
yeah,
how it worked.
it's distributed based on I think watch time,
Hmm.
but based on some metric, and like even though it's a much smaller portion of the audience that uses YouTube Premium, that is a much higher portion of any YouTuber's revenue is YouTube Red, or not YouTube Red anymore, but
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's higher than revenue, but it's a very solid bit of revenue anyway.
proportionally, like per view,
Oh, per
not
view, yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah. It's great per view. And
like
yeah,
it is an
it
appreciable amount of money per view.
hmm yeah, 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 for sure. And yeah, like you said, it's nice um, because it does a better job than AdBlock. Like AdBlock will always be kind of fucky.
Yeah, like one of the downsides of doing of doing an audio version of stuff is that, well, not really a downside, but one of the reasons that it's not always worth the time investment that it would take us to do it is that it's a lot harder to monetize that without getting direct sponsors for the video or for the audio at that point, which like isn't prohibitive exactly. Like we essentially don't make money from doing the podcast, but we still do it because we enjoy
Not
it
essentially.
and maybe would like to, and we'd like to make money off of it someday, but when it's that much more of a time investment, when you're putting up like daily videos and then you're trying to do like the video version and the audio version and you're kind of splitting the interest, it can be more harmful than anything. And I try not to let like financial decisions change the way I do the actual content production too much, but there is kind of a baseline of like time investment that at least has to be taken into account. And that'd be a big part for me why I don't do it.
Yeah, I thought about like uploading to Facebook, which is like something everybody who does like Facebook, or a lot of people who do social media recommend you do Facebook just because you get a lot of views and they pay high. But it's just like, I just can't be bothered. Like, all I got to do is, I've already got the video file made. I just can't be bothered to upload it, you know? So if I can't do that, I don't know.
Yeah. Everything has an opportunity cost is really what it comes down to.
Yes, exactly. I mean, if there's no more questions, I'm down to have a short episode this week. Do we decide what we're doing next week?
We did get one more from Joel in email.
Oh, okay.
If you wanna
Sorry.
grab that first. So Joel asked, do you consider Gideon a warlord or just a member of an Imperial cell, especially considering how quick he was to kill himself at the end of Season 2 of The Mandalorian? For that matter, in canon, are post-Endor warlords more like rebel cells in the early Dark Times era, instead of legit warlords like their Legends cousins?
Definitely painted him as a warlord at first, but yeah, we get hints in Season 2 that he might be something a little bit different. Because I think they even call him a warlord in Season 1.
Yeah, like there's not really a hard and fast definition of what makes a warlord, really. It would be, I think the primary criteria there would be how independently they're operating.
Yeah,
generally
he seems like not at all now. So
yeah, where it seems like he is part of more broadly what is left of the Empire, especially like not just the post Cinder, but post Jakku Imperial organization that exists. So whatever's coming out of Exegol, which is like kind of the hardcore of the hardcore by that point, because you've been through 2 Cinders and the complete teardown of any organizational structure that existed. But
yeah, it's scraps at this point.
Yeah,
total scraps.
Yeah, I think that's that.
Yeah,
I don't want to what we're doing next week.
Bring it too long. So yeah, sorry. What did you say? Do we decide what we're gonna do next week?
We didn't decide what we're gonna do, but do you want to get to Planet of Twilight, or I always
that's a good idea. Let's get to Planet of Twilight for next week. So send your questions, and then when is Thrawn again?
Is that the 26th?
Oh, okay, so it's still a while off. Okay.
I'm definitely making that up. Thrawn Ascendancy Book 2 release date. You've already got it, right?
Yes.
It's April 27th.
Okay.
So what day is that? That's a Tuesday. So we could probably cover that.
See if I can get it. I'll see if I can get it to you as well.
That would be a lot easier than reading it in 2 days. But yeah, so next week, that'll be the 8th. We will cover, it is Planet of Twilight, right? I keep getting the third book of the trilogy wrong. And
no, it's Planet of Twilight.
Okay.
Yeah. It's about the bugs. Bugs and huts.
We did do Darksaber, so that was the episode before Victory's Price. It's been so long. But we'll do Planet of Twilight. Then
we'll see.
Yeah, we'll figure out by next time what we're gonna do the time after that. So we are saying goodbye to the Callista trilogy. So I hope everyone's emotionally prepared for that fan favorite character. That's why they bring her back for Fate of the Jedi. Everyone loves themselves a Callista. Yeah,
it's gonna be great. Well, so we'll see you guys next week. Until then, get your vaccines. Be safe. Don't let anyone cough on you. Anything else you want to add?
No, you're gonna end the stream.
I actually didn't. Now it's over. Bye-bye. All right.